All right, Pleasant, good morning. We're still morning. Third day of TAPPSCon 2023. John Walk and Dan Morgan, LSCSN, Lone Star Christian Sports Network. And I'm joined by Executive Director of TAPPS, Bryan Bunselmeyer. Bryan, thank you again for having us out for the third straight year. This is a great situation for us. I wish we could, we found out the limit of YouTube uploads yesterday. We met them. And we have two from yesterday that we haven't got up yet, so.
We have hit limits too, so I understand. I understand limitations technology-wise, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to be here with you.
This seems to be up a little bit from last year.
I think we've got a few more folks. I think having Fine Arts Day was really a good stab at that. Focusing on that for 24 hours and only and then coming in here. We are doing a new compliance course. The teams courses will take the place of Scope and Cope. So all those coaches and ADs that were here, they'll get credit for that. Everybody else will be doing it online. So I think it probably increased a little bit.
Okay.
Folks come and get that credit. But it's also a good time to come back, and I saw a lot of staffs coming together. I saw a lot of folks coming together, and it's always a good time to see old friends that you might not see from other parts of the state. So.
I just saw a huge picture on Southwest Christian from Fort Worth. They had 15, looked like 15 people here.
Yep.
Do you ever think about, we talked about this 2 years ago in San Antonio, and that, maybe not a lot of people know. I mean, if I'm at Kincaid, I could be here. But have you ever thought of, has there been any discussion amongst the staff, the board, to actually try to pivot this as a private school coaching school?
I don't know that we have I would say we don't turn anybody away. I think that if they wanted to come be a part of it, a lot of it is TAPPS specific.
I understand.
But I think from the coaching perspective for the volleyball, the football, the chalk talks, and whatever, I'd welcome anybody that wants to come. I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud of what my staff puts together. I think that anybody that wants to come be a part, public or private, to be honest with you, if you can find a value and find a way to make it work, I'd love to have them.
Yeah, because you're having official sessions that benefits everybody.
Especially in basketball this year. That's a pretty big change coming for the hoops.
We're talking about shot clock.
No, we're talking about after 5.
Oh, yeah, okay,
the
fouls.
5 fouls goes to double, so it'll be interesting to see how many people get it right the first few games.
What do you mean as far as
So in the old days, you go, it's by half, and you go through 7. You're shooting 1 and 1 till you get to 10. Now 5 each quarter, you go to the double bonus. So it's done away basically with the common fouls, 7, 8, and 9.
So, but are you concerned about schools applying it correctly in the course of the game early on, or are you concerned about the officials?
I think the officials will apply it correctly. I'm not so sure the schools will understand it.
Okay.
Let me just say it that way. If we've been playing this other way for a lot, it's like when I first started coaching girls basketball and we went from 6-on-6 to 5 up and down the court. It was a different game, and the girls were ready for it. Trust me, they were ready to go full court, and that was good. But it was just a little different, and I think it took a little. I think the thing here is it's going to take away some of that. How you coach, as a player, if I know the 5th one in the first quarter is going to get into the double, that's a little quicker than it used to be, but then it resets. So if it's going to reset, what's that going to be like? So now am I free to foul the next? As a team, do I get those fouls? I think it'll change the end of contest. A lot of times you'd get to 6 and try not to foul, and then if you get behind by 1 or 2, you start fouling. But with the 1 and 1, you had a chance of, at least them missing, that front end, and they don't score any points. Now they're going to get an automatic 2.
Right.
I do think that changes it'll change some of my coaching a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd go to the when you get to the double bonus at 10, you'd have the option to take the ball in.
Yep. That that was actually discussed for several years, that when you get to there, and it's almost like not a flagrant, but a purposeful foul, they can give you the ball and do that. I think that was there. I think that the hard part about me is when you're a professional and they're fouling you, the old shack attack. That's okay. You're a professional. You're getting paid X amount of dollars. If you're in college, well, now you could be paid to go to college. But back in the day, again, you're a different level. I just, when you're 14 years old, I'm intentionally fouling you. I get it. It's part of the game. And if you're on the court, you should be able to shoot a free throw. I was that kid that couldn't. So, but I do understand that I think it's going to change the game a little bit. But I think it's time. And I think part of it is to speed up the end of them, maybe.
We saw some games this year, and as a coach, you hate to bash the officials, but we saw some horrendous officiating. I covered Bay Area and was that Corpus Christi Incarnate Word?
Mm-hmm.
There were 50 fouls called in the game, and I mean they weren't knocking people. There wasn't bodies on the ground. It was touch fouls, and I'm thinking at some point you got to quit calling. There's not going to be enough girls left to finish this game when it's all said and done. And but it's a small town.
Quanah playing Paducah, the Lady Indians of Quanah picked up 55, and I found out the rule is when you get down to 1, you got to stop the game. You can play with 2, you can't play with 1. So I used 55 out of my allotted 60, and I was done.
I've seen a HCYA and Central Christian back when Tom Sanders was the head coach. I saw them go down. I saw Briarwood go down to 3, and Tom sent 3 out on the floor to respect that. And
I will say the Lady Dragons did not do that. I love the ladies in orange, but they came at us 5-on-2.
Top highlights for 2022, 2023 for the organization.
I think the highlight is we're third season out of COVID. I think our schools, our numbers are good. I think that the programs, even golf and tennis that had been dragging a little bit, have started to come back. Our music numbers came back, which is always good. Record number of cheer and dance teams came. That was good. We started a lacrosse showcase. We don't have really enough schools yet playing lacrosse. Don't know if we ever will. Mm-hmm. But giving them a showcase opportunity, it was a match set, getting to play 2. We did a fall soccer showcase, did the same thing. Match play golf doubled. I expect it to get a lot bigger. Team tennis doubled. Again, I think it'll increase a little bit. Those were exciting for me. Providing value add, give the something you want. I do think that, in the long run, I don't think we can keep diluting the pool. I mean, we're out 29 weeks a year doing something. At some point, you got to say, I've hit my limit. Yeah. Sand volleyball, greatest we've ever had. We've got 152 teams going to play next week, so that's a lot of teams coming. 7-on-7, 6-on-6. We added 6-on-6 last year. We're looking forward to it this year. So, again, that value add, give your kids something a chance to do that's with like-minded people, like-minded schools. I know that any of those showcases we do, our goal is to not only see good competition on the field, pitch, or court, but we also want to see that camaraderie about the coaches and the kids, and I saw that. It was fun in match play golf. Kids that had actually played, the 9 holes or the 18 against each other, when they saw each other again in the spring, hey, how are you doing? And, man, how did you do? And how did you get here? And I thought, that's a growth opportunity. And in a sport, sometimes golf and tennis, we get me-centered, and we forget that, hey, there's a bigger world. So I was really proud of that. But I think everything's gone really well. We had a great cross-country meet. Track, weather hit us a little bit, but for the most part, track was great. Spike down, was good last year. We got more teams this year. So, again, just looking at the opportunity to put people out there and give them a chance to do something.
Spike down's changed a little bit in the sense that in the first iteration or two, you had some of your top programs in that, and now it seems to be a little bit more to where, looking at last year's group of teams, and I haven't seen this coming years yet, but it seemed like that the teams that finished 1 and 2, they're often going and playing, whether it be a public school tournament or that. And not to say that they've outgrown it, it's just their needs are different now. But now you've opened up you've got that range of teams that finish 3 and 4, all the way up and down the scale to, and still you have great competition. It's for these lower teams, they get an opportunity to play some tougher teams. Is my perception there correct?
I think the perception is it's who pulled the trigger on it. TAPPS didn't say go do this. It was the schools
I understand that.
It was schools making a decision. I still think it's a great venue. You're getting 3 on one day, 4 the next, and then 2 in the tournament play. We'd love to have, I'd love to have our top flight teams come and be there. I think coaching changes make that happen too. If you're coming from a public school and maybe somebody to go back into, or maybe your program's on the rise, or maybe we always look at this, whether it's the best teams or whatever they rank. It's a first week tournament. So as a coach, I would have played every player I have, given them all opportunity. I'm wanting camaraderie, team building, getting a lot of games in. Or matches. I apologize to our volleyball coaches, matches. But as that set count goes up, put somebody in a situation that, maybe they're a freshman or sophomore and you haven't seen them. Well, let's put them under pressure. The game's on the line and you've got to serve. Let's put them up there and see if they can serve you back into it. Or, this little lady plays a great front row. I wonder if she can play back row. And, in the world of, I know with club and select and training and skills, I get it all. But I think sometimes your game changes when the pressure's on and you're wearing the school uniform. I may be wrong, but it changed for me. I mean, I did a lot of select baseball growing up, but when I put on the other uniform, it's like, oh, I better not mess this one up.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate you sharing, because sometimes, I mean, obviously not having coached, so I mean, I look at things from how I look at it, and because I'm trying to figure out how do I, in getting word out and communicating and promoting and publicizing in conjunction with what you all do, I'm trying to look for, okay, what's the right storyline, if you will? What's the right? How do I frame this to promote private school athletics in the best way? So that's why.
Well, I think right now you've got a couple of really good teams at several divisions that are coming, and I think that's good. Again, we also want you to give you a chance to play people that you're not going to see during the year in the pool play, and that's in everything we do if we're doing the tournament. So I think it's important if you're in North School and we can get you a pool play game against some Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. I think that also helps you. I would come as a coach because I may see you in the playoffs.
Right.
I don't necessarily need to see my district team. If I'm just the four of us in district, I'm going to see you in 9 weeks or whatever. So I think, kind of our goal is to be spread out. But also, when it comes to all-state time, it's always good that if you've seen somebody before, so many of those all-state meetings get a little contentious because I haven't seen them before.
Yeah. How's your relationship with lately with TPID? I mean, what are your numbers? I mean, I did see for the first time they had audited financials through, I guess it would have been 2 seasons ago,
Yep.
and I think that the number that came to you guys was, I don't know if that was part of the 3-year. There's 112,000 that first year.
Went up this year. So, again, Waco has really tried to be our city of champions. The Waco Convention and Visitors Bureau gives us some fine dollar bills. TPID does as well. TPID is all based on room nights.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, the more people that come to Waco, the more people that stay the night, the more money we have a chance to make. But, in talking with them, they came to our Fine Art Day, and they were able to come make a presentation. I think the situation becomes they see it as an investment, not only in money, but an investment in youth and investment in opportunity. So I think we'll continue that. I feel really good about it. Our contract runs at the end of this year, but I see no reason to.
I know when I checked in last night, I stayed at the Town Place, which is, I don't normally stay in a town, but it's a newer one. It's about 3-4 years old, and they do a really good job up there on the north side. And I checked in. I was like, I'm here for TAPPS. And how do you spell it? TAPPS.
Yep. Yep. That's one of the good things about Waco. If they have, yes, it's kind of midway, but one of the best things is because of Baylor, because of McLennan, because of some other things that they're used to, and now of course the silos and that whole thing. But they have enough restaurants, they have enough hotels, they have enough parking spots, all that, to be able to host big events. So that makes it easier for us than trying to go somewhere and say, wow, they've only got 5 hotels. Like, we've done Bastrop for regional track a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Bastrop is a great town, but they have one of everything at most, and they only have a select number of hotel rooms. So some people were having to stay in Austin and drive in.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's just a different setting.
You can't set up in the parking lot of Buc-ee's in Bastrop, but
We probably could. It just wouldn't be the best opportunity. But it's good little Buc-ee's. But we got Buc-ee's across the street from us at the Motor Speedway for our office, so we like a good Buc-ee's. I'll say that.
I've been doing these all on the fly the last day and a half, and sometimes I just hit a brain stop. You have a question for me? No, I'm teasing.
Well, one of the things that we've been talking about is in social media, and I think most of our schools are now making a concerted effort to make a social media push. Mm. I think that the training, like our partner is Gipper. But I think that the training, we've got to come up with something, whether it comes from you or Dan or however it comes out of, it's not just about the win. It's let's push but when you push information, what information?
Yeah, it's
timely information, but accurate information. That's so from your standpoint, because I know y'all look at it kind of this way I do. You look at it at night. You look at it as it comes in, because we can't be everywhere.
right.
From that standpoint, and we've talked about it before, and you said it, on there. What can our schools do to help, from your perspective? You're looking at it as an end user. What can our social media cats do to help the world in general?
The bottom line for me, the bottom line is just get something, especially when we get to playoff time. But even we've talked. Football kind of takes care of itself. But even still, we have to chase some for football. And that's usually the smaller six-man school. But if you're sharing with your schools, is to get, obviously you wanted to get it to rank 1 first. That would be great. But in lieu of that, get it somewhere as soon as the game's over. All you have to do is just go, us 3, them 2. That's all we need. And if we
if you name them, that's the thing. A lot of times it'll be win 24-6, but you don't know.
So you're saying pronouns are bad? That's
right.
what I mean.
Yeah, well,
pronouns are bad. Us, them, they.
You just don't get the visitor who it is, and sometimes when you're flying through that list. The other thing is, and John and I have talked about this a little bit. We'll go cover a game and we'll go to tag the school. Well, they'll have 25 football, XYZ Christian football tags, but they haven't had a post since like 2018 or 2013, and they've got to figure out some way to go in there and get rid of those old handles.
We see that a lot, and I think even for our stuff, having John Skees as our media director has really helped us to clean it up and to try to be on task. And I hear exactly what you're saying, because we do the same thing. If we're hunting a score, you go down there like, man, it was 2018, and that's the last time you posted anything. Oh, but we're real current over here. I also think, though, it's important that you have a social media plan. How are you going to do it? Make sure you do it. And I think one of the things for me is as we go forward, just making sure you're positive about you. Social media from a school perspective should not be an attack on somebody else, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's pretty direct. So
I don't really see that from school on school, but we also don't. Billy the Hicks this past week had a post. He was like, I'm not a media outlet. I would disagree with it. I think what Billy does, he kind of functions as one. But the one point he made, he goes, there are folks out there that tag kids to increase their number of followers, and he goes, I'm just not comfortable doing that. And I jumped on that because it's been our policy is that we're not out for followers. We're out to get results out, promote, as we've talked about over the years, raise the level up for everybody, and we don't have to do that leveraging kids' information. And it's just.
I think it's hard right now. Dan, you're still in the school system. When I was the principal and when I was in the school deal, social media. I'm starting year 18 at TAPPS. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, I think when social media was fresh and new, friending somebody, liking somebody, doing all those things, teacher to kid or whatever. We live in a very different world now. Safe student, safe school. I think there's a lot of things in there that would say this is a bad idea. But it only applies in the school setting, and then you get, whether it be a recruiting or somebody that's somebody that's following, let's say high school, let's name your sport, high school rugby.
Right.
And they feel very comfortable doing that and DMing people and doing those things. So I think we're limited. I think you guys do a great job. I think everybody's staying above the deal. We don't send information directly to students or kids through Rank 1 either. We still go back through the school, and maybe I know I'm archaic and maybe irrelevant, but I think that's the right way to be. I think it's I want to have communication, but I think it needs to be guarded and it needs to be buffered. Maybe I'm saying that wrong.
No, and there's just too many things that can go wrong. And we had I was at summertime at 7-on-7, and I took a video of a young man and scoring, and I posted it, and it's probably very Dan was a young man you interviewed at a basketball game, and a great young man, and so it didn't even click to him. He sent me a DM, hey, can you email me that? Here's my email address, and I'm going like, I can't do that. Again, do I think no? So I go to the AD and go, hey, so-and-so reached out to me. I'm going to send this to you. Can you get it to him? And, but it's just the world that we live in and the culture that we live in.
I think John was saying, too, when we talked with Coach Nesmith from Bernie Geneva, they do a great job at their social media. It's clean. It's, everything they put out. John Cooper's the same way. They have somebody that's their full-time job to deal with social media. and it comes out clean. And if they look at those, if the schools will look at examples like that, they'll see what a effective media it can be for them to the community.
Well, and one of the things that obviously I look at ours, whatever. I think I've been so fortunate to have John and Will and Delaney on our staff that they're very keenly aware of boundaries. I mean, and probably maybe a little too much, but they also look at the picture and see what does the picture show. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. I mean, sometimes we focus on what's right in front of us, but we don't see what's going on behind us. Or is that really the picture? Is that the position you want? Like, it's the race-winning look, but is that, when they cross the tape or cross the line, is that really, what it is? So I think that's true. And then, we do have some kids still that mom and dad don't want them in social media. And one of our acknowledgement of rules questions says we can use it, and I hope most of our schools have followed through, and I think most of them do a really good job of that. But, you just got to be careful with kids. And then, I look at who's actually doing the social media. Is it the coach? Is it a social media person? Sometimes it's a mom that you've given, your account to, or they created the account, or I'm not knocking moms, but, right. They really invested. I think some of the services, like I said, we have Gipper as a partner. There's obviously a lot of others out there. I think they're really good at what they do. But I think they have to be guided. I think you got to be real careful on, did they name it the right thing? So, if you're the district MVP, it needs to say District 1, TAPPS District 1, 4A or whatever, not TAPPS MVP.
I know, I see that. That's a big one. That's a big one for me.
And then we got to call you and say, oh, by the way, now you got to take it down, or you got to retweet it or whatever. I think it's just very important that people understand the boundaries, or they don't understand the difference between academic all-state and all-state. They don't understand that, and a lot of the rules on when to post stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you've got some schools that want to post and release all district immediately after the last district game. And, there's kind of a protocol. I guess I don't know, I've been doing this 30-something years. It goes back longer than that until your last team's out of the playoffs, you just kind of, out of respect, you don't do that. Yeah. And I think, too, it's harder now to archive because, we find it daily on our website, 78% of the traffic that we get on our website is through a mobile device. And that's a challenge because we're creating it to work off a laptop or a tower. I mean, it works really good when you do that. But sometimes what works here in your world, what works here doesn't always work as well there.
And I'll be honest with you, I mean, and I'm out there all the time, especially with scores and everything, is that I probably only ever access, we've got a friend fly here this the whole day and a half.
It's our mascot.
Yeah. I access it through here. I mean, it's just I've just not tried because actually this is where I'm at most of the time anyways.
Well, I think we have some, the world has moved to apps. The world's moved to everything you want's on your cell phone. It's a tip away, and I think that's great. Don't take it wrong, but I think it creates challenges. Broadcast media, we're with Huddle Blue Frame, and I would love to grow TAPPS TV. Mm-hmm. I wish every school would join me on TAPPS TV instead of YouTube or Twitch or whatever. It's not for everybody, and I get that. But, we've got some schools that have the money to go hire an outside firm to do all their broadcasting, and hallelujah. I mean, that's, St. Thomas down in Houston has been doing that for years, right. and y'all go do it, and you do it really well. I think that's some of the things too, is helping our schools understand when you're doing media, especially broadcast media, whether it be radio or TV, knowing that other people are listening too. It's one thing to be, hey, I'm proud of my team, and then sometimes you say a few things that go over. But and in the world we live, I think everybody's sharing that media. I mean, if I'm hosting the game, why not share it out? I mean, when y'all go to Allen Academy, I mean, everybody gets to hear. I mean, he's not restricting it to just his folks. I mean, y'all aren't restricting it. I mean, so it's.
Well, yeah, we're just trying to build the culture of private school athletics.
Yep.
And so it's like, we could go and do one school every week, but it's like, no, we want to go visit, everybody.
If I had the time, I think Will Dixon on my staff and I would be somewhere every night broadcasting something. We're just sports junkies, but. The other side of that is, and you mentioned, whether it be the SBC or whether it be who are private schools, if we raise the water level, all the boats rise. So what you're doing to raise private school awareness, and recognition works. But that's why, even our Spike Down tournament, we've got a couple of SPC teams, a couple of TCAF teams, a couple of whatever. I think opportunity that we provide, because if they had somewhere else to go, it might not be coming to us, so to speak. I think in the tournament showcase world, we all need to support each other. I think that's a huge value. And I think social media-wise, I mean, if it's something good, the little lacrosse player, North, I mean,
Charlotte North. ESD.
Charlotte North,
Mm-hmm.
she's not a TAPPS kid, but man, private school kid, tore up the world in college, and now continuing to tear up the world. So why not celebrate that?
Yep.
So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've taken up a good bit of your time, and we always appreciate that time. Like I said, it's good to be here. This was fun for us. I mean, we got Eddie Ibarra over here with Central Catholic. Got to know Eddie this past year. One of the successes from last TAPPS Con for us was getting to know the Dan Baker and Joe Jones at Founders Christian School in spring.
Yep.
They were here at TAPPS Con last year and kind of walking by and engaged, and we did a couple other games. We were just visiting with Dan a little bit earlier, so this is good for us to be able to get out and just same thing that we hope that coaches are, other than the education, is just to renew their friendships and make new ones, and try to figure out how we work together and make it good for everybody.
Same thing for us, and I think for all three of us, especially over the years we've been doing this. When you're at an event, coaches are kind of locked in on, I got a task at hand, and they get that coaching mode and whatever, and they're polite, they'll talk, they'll visit, but I think here we actually have a chance to settle back and sit in and say, hey, how you doing? And it's like the health and safety rules. All the health and safety rules are pretty well directed to take care of the student athlete. We need to take care of our coaches too. Our coaches sometimes ain't the youngest puppies in the herd, but being out here and being able to meet somebody that maybe you didn't know before, that has a similar story or has a common relationship, I think those things just help you as the year goes on, where you can support each other. So I'm glad. We used to do an annual meeting. We used to meet at the Omni down in San Antonio. It was a great opportunity to come together, but it was more of us telling you the rules, and I don't think everybody always wanted to hear the rules. So I think we've done a better job with giving different, like the football chalk talks are getting ready to come up. I think that's good. We used to do the All-Star games, and sadly, and y'all, we've talked about y'all doing it, and we've done it, and you've done it, and
we're still trying to figure out how to,
We want to do it, but it's got to be the participants that want to do it. I mean, I can offer it, but are they going to come? And we had gotten to the point where it started out seniors only, just like everybody else, and then we'd worked our way all the way down to if you were first team all district, and a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And then it became, well, okay, are you second team all district? And so just trying to, and obviously the better, and I hate to say it, but in most sports, the better you are, you've already moved on. I know out in the West Texas, they do the 6-man and they do the volleyball, basketball all-star game out there. And they do it during the summer, during the coaching clinic. They're not getting the participation that they once did. I appreciate our guys that do the 6-man all-star game, but it's like 2 weeks after the season.
Right.
I think that means, I guess y'all were there last year, right?
Yeah.
So I think you are getting participation from the private schools in that. But
Yeah,
they're giving up something, because they're giving up some basketball games, because
Right.
most of those cats got another sport right behind it.
That's the only way we were able to do football, is to have it right after the season was over. 2 weeks after the state championship, and it's in there in that Christmas break, so you kind of get them, but it's
we were going to
it's
try
a challenge.
We were
It's
going
a-
to try to do basketball and maybe come back. I mean, it was just going to be a heavy lift. Kind of at the last minute, we kind of talked to Russell at Westbury about having it there, and because we've Greg and Butch back in the day when we did it as senior only, and we were going to do it senior again, but it's a heavy lift. I mean, people don't realize. I mean, the amount of work that goes into pull those together. And
I want to say the last time we did volleyball, Becky Blauser was the head coach. Her daughter was the senior that played in that All-Star game.
And
Who's now head coach at
Rose Hill.
Rose Hill
Rose Hill,
Christian.
yes, sir.
So it's like
And I mean, just one of those things that I don't know that the world's passed it by. Me looking back, I still enjoyed it. But to your point about the heavy lift, you got to have uniforms, you got to have a court, you got to have officials, you got to have all the things that go with it. And somewhere in there, you got to get a sponsor to put it together, because, to be honest with you, that's the parents expect that. They expect that, hey, I'm an all-star. They'll pay a little, but they ain't gonna pay the full ride. And unfortunately, most time you don't get the gate that's going to come in and say, hey, I just want to see a good game. So I appreciate everything you guys do, everything LSCSN stands for. I appreciate you guys.
Well, again, thank you again for having us, and we're looking forward to another great athletic year coming up.
Looking forward to it.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Bryan. Really appreciate it. All right, again, TAPPS Executive Director Bryan Bunselmeyer here at TAPPSCon 2023. We're getting ready to wrap up day 3.